No one can hear me. Streaming my last stream, maybe. I should have checked sound. Deep technical debt, where no one can hear me stream. This might be my last.
How are you supposed to DM somebody who's not your friend? How do I DM him? Am I just that much of a boomer that I do not know how to DM somebody on Discord? Oh, right here. Okay, maybe this is how you're supposed to do it. Okay, it could not be delivered. Oh, okay. So he's not accepting direct messages. All right, friend request sent. It's a guy who wants to come on the PocketBased stream. I'm trying today to make more tutorial style stuff. Topic of the day here is I've been thinking more about the kingdom patches and deltas, and I stumbled across this thing. Let me see if I can find it in history, called right here, patch versus merge patch. Which is more appropriate? It's actually not the one. This one, JSON patch versus JSON merge patch. So a JSON patch looks like this. It has an operation, a path, and a value. A merge patch is just the object, and you merge in all the changed fields, and anything that needs to be removed is set to null. This merge patch seems much more suited for Kingdom, because the other thing I realized is that each player might need a custom view of the mutation. So there's potentially 2 affected players in any mutation, and then everyone else. So I'm going into Kingdom here, and I'm going to make a feature branch called Mutative. I'm going to whip all these changes, and then going back to the main branch, I'm going to do an update migrations chore and commit all those migrations, and then a update to-do chore, update the to-do list, and I'm going to take a fresh approach here. After a lot of reflection, I realized that my custom room state deltas were capturing a concept that the JSON patch alone wasn't doing. I'm wondering now if there's a tool like Immer or Mutative that produces merge patches. I'm going to ask Cloud and hope Cloud doesn't hallucinate. You could potentially create a simple utility. Well, I was thinking about that. I'm going to ask Cloud if it can possibly write a utility class for me called merge patch. Yeah, so the utility class to do a merge patch doesn't seem too difficult. This merge patch function that Cloud wrote probably comes close to what I need. Let's see how it feels to use this merge patch in the room join code. So remember, in Pocket Pages, API endpoints are just file routes like everything else. We're going into API, join, and then the join EJS expects a cell index number to be the last element of the route. Going into the EJS file, we have a function called shouldAttemptJoin, where it examines the room state and decides whether it should attempt a join or not. Assuming it's possible to join the cell, we start a transaction, and then we immediately check it again. And if we're not allowed to join from inside the transaction, we bail out of the transaction immediately. I do this for efficiency because I don't want to open a blocking transaction unless I have a reasonable belief that the player can actually join the cell, meaning they have enough shards, the cell is not occupied by somebody else, and that we're even in the right stage of the game. No reason to even look farther if any of those things are not true. Now, right here, we begin by modifying the room state. This is where I'd like to see what our imaginary merge patch looks like. And Cloud gets what we're trying to do here. Yeah, it's not so much that JSON patch is inefficient. It's that the deltas that I need to send are different depending on who the player is. The private game state holds the absolute source of truth, and that's good, but certain state changes mean that certain players get notified in certain ways, and they're not all the same. So now I'm wondering if I had some kind of way to watch for state changes, and each watcher was responsible for creating deltas based on those state changes. Could that work? Could there be some kind of observer of the room state object where each observer got a callback when a piece of state changed, or I just use the JSON patch array. In other words, go through, make all the private changes that I need to, get the JSON patch array, and then run through it with at least 3 different delta generators. That could work. Yes, see, because we have this concept of a private delta that goes out only to the user who joined the cell. The user who joined the cell gets additional information that others don't. And this works. Sometimes a nap solves everything, guys. So I've been jammed up a little bit on implementing cell TTLs. Here's where we're at. If we go to kingdompockethost.io, it is stuck like this. Somebody has taken over the whole grid and they haven't come back. So we're going to experiment with this by grabbing the current state and saving it locally here. We'll just save it as savestate.json, just like that. Okay, we have a save state. We'll whip it because we're in a feature branch. In the PocketBased admin of the live Kingdom app, we have a room state, and that room is completely filled up with 1 player right now. We need a way to expire the cells. That player has abandoned the game a long time ago, but all of his pieces are still occupying all of the cells, so nobody can play the game unless I just reset it. But instead of resetting it, I'd like to build in the feature where it maintains itself by expiring cells that haven't been used in a while. I took a meditative nap and now I have a plan. So I've grabbed the game state from the live server and I've saved it here locally so that I can restore this exact state. Now, what I do to make that happen is I take that state, I go here into room.js and write in get room state. I'm just going to return static state that I stole from the server. So what this will do, no matter what the state is in the database, this is the room state that will get returned while we're in this branch. Now, my programming style, I really like to find a way to make incremental progress. And I like to do that by developing live. So check this out. I'm going to go back to main, and I'm going to compare with this cell TTL branch that we just did. And I'm going to pull in the changes that I want to keep. So for example, there was an error showing up in the console where it was trying to look for the cell index that contained the prize, even though the prize metadata might not have been available yet. It's just causing an error in the console. So I'm fixing that right now, and I'm saying I'm making a fix for it. Fix console error on prize index not defined. All right, so that fix has been committed to main. That's done. Another feature I want to add is some kind of notification at the very top of Kingdom that says that we are streaming live development right now, and that therefore functionality may be affected. And I want to give the YouTube stream in it so people can go watch. Right here in login would be a great place to add this. And I'm trying to decide, is it global or is it per room? I think it would be cool if it were per room, because then it could be some kind of message of the day type thing. So I'm going to head into our global types and add a message of the day that has title and a link. And if the message of the day, title and link is empty, then it won't show anything. Inside our main screen, index.ejs, inside the play folder, we are going to put a message of the day in here. Where do we want it? I think I want it right below the Kingdom banner. Right below the Kingdom banner. And you know, maybe in room state, I'll have a name for the room too. So I will update default room state that's created server side to just say default room with an empty message of the day and link. And then on the home screen, we're going to add a div banner here right below the game title banner. And it's going to be the room state name. And then if the message of the day has a title, we'll show the title and the link. And I realize now we need one more thing in there, which is a CTA, a call to action. That's what the link will display. So now I have the banner that I need, and I see that it has merged in the new fields that I created. That's good. But I don't see that they're showing up yet, and that's probably because sanitized room state passing them through. So here we'll do name and message of the day inside the get sanitized room state. So this server method is what sanitizes the room state so that private information is not sent over the wire. And we just needed it to pass the message of the day and the name of the room. And now I see that both of those are coming through. We're going to name the room BTC Frenzy. So I'm going into the Kingdom PocketBased admin. I'm naming it BTC Frenzy. And then for the message of the day is, we'll say, warning, we are developing live right now. And the link will be the YouTube link. Hey, Sani Salim, how are you, buddy? We're doing some live hacking here on Kingdom. The YouTube link will be that, and the CTA will say watch the stream. How about just watch live? How about watch? Cool. So we saved that. Now I see here that it says BTC Frenzy, warning, we're developing the game live right now, watch. So go back in here, into the source code, into the front end again, and style this up a little bit. I think the first thing is I'd like it to be background yellow of some kind, and probably padding 1 wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that's not quite the yellow I had in mind. I also want it to be width full, but let's try a different yellow here, something slightly darker. Okay, that's better. And then now that I'm thinking about it, guys, I want them to be able to specify the foreground and background colors of their room. So I'm going back into the global types and I'm going to reconsider the structure of this. Maybe we have a field here called meta, and it has the name, and it has BG color, and it has FG color. It has the message of the day, and maybe this has title color and CTA, maybe CTA. Okay, let's see here. Maybe this thing can be called banner instead. The banner will have title. Hold on. I liked it better when this was named meta. So meta has a name. Now we have banner, and the banner basically the same as the message of the day, where we have a title color, a BG color, a CTA color, a CTA BG color, CTA text, CTA link. I think we can change this all to a little more nested. I don't think we need to nest title color and BG color. I think we can say text color and BG color, just like that. All right, I like that structure better. So now we're going back into the room defaults and we're exporting this meta structure in the room sanitization, jumping back up in the defaults here, and we're doing meta with all this stuff fixed up. And let's just double check. Message of the day, CTA, it does not say banner. Why does Cloud think it says banner? So we've got a title, a text color, BG, yeah, okay. All right, this is the correct structure right here for the default room state. So let's go back to the PocketBased admin and see if this is showing up now. All right, here is our room state. So we have this new meta field showing in the game state in the admin. So let's go back to the front end now and modify this stuff a little bit, where we have roomstate.meta.name, and then the message of the day. I'm not going to put the name in here. I'm going to make this the message of the day banner. So this div that we're adding is going to say that it only shows if the meta message of the day title is showing. And then we need to, oh, Cloud figured it out for us. Yes, exactly. Message of the day, background color, and text color. But we want to have a default for this, which is, I'm going to say yellow. Let's see if Cloud knows how to fill that in. Sometimes you can just type the English and it will do it for you. Like if I type hex black, it figures it out and adds the hex color. Not that the hex color for black or yellow are difficult to do, but it's interesting that you can type English and it will create the code. Here we have this message of the day div, which defaults to a yellow highlight color and black text. It displays the title of the message of the day, and then it displays the CTA link, the CTA text, the background color, and the text color. And we want the button to be a green color by default, and the text to be white by default, and we'll style it like a button. Let's see what this does on the front end. Since every room state is now guaranteed to have metadata, I'm going to update the default room state on the client side so that it has meta as well. So for some reason, the room state message of the day meta mod title is empty, and yet the div is still showing. Room state meta mod title right there, x show. None of this should be showing right now. What if we convert it to a Boolean just to see what happens? Okay, so I want to know what the value of title actually is, because I don't understand why it's showing. Yeah, see, it is empty. So why is x show not working? Am I going crazy? The other x shows work. What happens if I just do x show false? Will the banner still show up? It is still showing up, even though x show is false. Is that happening? I think it's because this style tag is overriding x show. I think x show applies an additional style. What if I reverse these attributes? That would be a funky way to find out that this works, but maybe it will. Okay, yeah, so xbind completely overrides the style. Xbind style and xbind show or x show are not compatible with each other. I think instead I need to do a manual display block or none in the style binding. That's a little bit unexpected and annoying, but it does work. So now let's go back into the server, into the game state, and make our title. Our title is warning, live hacking in progress. And the call to action, we will grab link, paste it in there, and the button will say watch now. Let's refresh and see what that does. Okay, here it is, warning, live hacking in progress, watch now. Yeah, cool. So now we've got a live stream link up there. That's cool. I'm going to commit these changes. So we've added meta. We've added a few changes to the homepage to show a banner. We've added some room color customization and room name. Let's create a change set for this. Feature, room name, and message of day. That's the feature. Okay, we're going to commit all this. Feature, room name, and message of day. Great. Now I feel a little more secure that as we're working on this, people will know that we're live hacking and they'll be perhaps a little more forgiving. Let's dive in now, the meat of this thing, which is that we need cells to expire and blow up. Because of the planning session we did yesterday, I think the move might be to go straight to the front end and simulate a battle where a cell gets eliminated. So we're going to set the state to the war phase with a really long TTL so that basically it never times out. And then in battle here, we're going to add simply one record where there is one cell affected. The outcome is that it died, and the delta, well, I'm not sure what the delta should be yet. Let's go look at the front end and refresh our memories on how these battles iterate. So apply battle deltas gets the battles, it does get the deltas, and it applies all of those deltas. For anybody jumping in on the stream right now, we're trying to work out how to eliminate idle cells in Kingdom. And I'm looking at the code on the front end that applies battle deltas. I'm trying an output first approach here, where the front end dictates what it needs to see from the back end. When it applies a certain battle, it gets the two cells that battled. If player 1 wins, it gathers all the neighbor cells of player 2 and filters out their attacked by because the player 2 cell is about to die. So I think what we need to do is recognize that player 2 index may not be present. So we'll say if P2 IDX and the outcome is less than 0, then we clean up the player 2 index. Yeah, meaning if that player is going to die. And then if player 1 is going to die, we clear out all the attacks to player 1 from all of the neighbors because he's out. And player 1 is also not attacking anybody, so he's out. All right, fair enough. And then it applies the deltas. And the delta that we need here, we have some public stuff, which is that grid.1 is null. And then for my player ID, I'm going to grab my player ID from the debugging information, and I'm going to place it right here into the game state. For my player ID, a couple things need to happen. First of all, I'm going to change cell number 1 to be my player ID so that I can see it. It's got a health of 6 and strength of 0. That's all okay. But now down here, these deltas should be merged. I'm going to change the code so that they are merged. When deltas come across the wire, they should be merged into a single object. Yeah, I just really want to change the way these deltas work first. Let's see what that's like. I'm going to, I really want to change, now that I understand more about these deltas, I want to change their transmitted across the wire. There's nothing in these changes that's going to hurt anything. So I'm going to commit these changes to main, make the improvement in cellmath.js to make sure that the index is valid when we're gathering the neighbors. Otherwise, it just returns an empty array. That's a harmless change, but it's one that we might want for the future. Actually, I'm going to revert both of those changes. I don't want to keep either one of them right now. I want to create a new branch called Shore Delta Refactor. And in the Delta Refactor, I really want to change how these deltas work. Let's look at the join code for a moment. So when we join the room, we need something called, I'm just going to call it delta and increment the room. When we decrement the player shards and increment the player health, we need that to go into the player delta. So we're going to say player delta. All right, so we initialize the player delta with the updates to the player's record. Now down here, we update the cell with the player ID and the health. And then I believe we can do object assign player delta with the grid cells, player ID, and the health of the cell. Now, public delta just gets the player ID and the strength. That's all they get. Let's see what happens when I wipe out the grid players in the room. I have the full grid saved. The issue will come up again. Some bugs are just not approachable because there are too many prerequisites. And I'm finding that trying to destroy the idle cells is leading into a bunch of refactoring. So instead, I want to just start in the placement phase here, and I want to watch the real-time feed. I want to see this event stream so that when I tap on something, okay, it's giving me back this merged, and that's exactly what I want it to give back to me. Well, except this player ID seems nested incorrectly. Let me go back to the player delta. Yes, we forgot the top level player's key in that player's player delta. So now if I join a cell, I get real-time feed. Good, fair enough. I'm looking at the data coming through the real-time feed to see if it makes sense to me. And it does seem like it makes sense, and that somehow apply deltas still works. It doesn't. I wasn't expecting it to. So on the front end, we need to adjust apply deltas. That might be in cell math. It might be in utility. Here it is. Apply deltas. This needs to be rewritten because this is now just a deep merge. I'm going to see if I can get Cloud to rewrite this with me. So I'm going to say apply deltas should now do a deep merge of the deltas object into the room state object. Null values in the deltas should be deleted from room state. All other values should be merged. Arrays are not supported. Good, I'll just say I want it to throw an error if an array is encountered. So let's see what it did here. It's looping through the delta keys. Well, that already seems wrong. Oh, I see. It's still doing this split thing. I mean, I guess it could support both, potentially. It could support a flattened structure or a nested structure. We might just want to steal a merge deep function from somebody. Let's just say it no longer accepts dotted notation. It is a JSON merge structure. All right, here's what I was expecting to find. Merge objects. Arrays are not supported. That's fine. Then it loops through all of those. If the value is null, it deletes the target. If the value is an object, it initializes the target if it's not already there, and then it calls merge objects on that value. Otherwise, if it's a regular key, target equals value, and it just merges those objects. Yeah, I think that is exactly what we want. So now I'm going to refresh so that we have the new apply deltas, and I'm going to join, and there it goes. Now we're talking. All of the things that I thought should update are indeed updating. Yep, this is nice. This is nicer. And look at all these real-time updates here. Great. Now, let's open up. How should we do this? Yeah, we need a second client. So I'm going to open up an incognito window with a second client. And I'm going to join using that second client and see what real-time data comes through. Okay, right. Yes, here it is. Strength 0, right? Now, what I would expect if I tap on that again in the incognito window, and you guys can't see the incognito window, or actually, I don't know, maybe you can. You can't see it. So I'm going to tap on this cell again. It's become 2. And now what I want to see in the browser is whether we got another real-time event. And you see how we did here? This is the kind of leak that I'm talking about, where it leaks data even though nothing has changed there. You know that that person is doing activity on that cell. I don't like that. So going back into the join code, I'm going to see if I can fix this. So the player delta is fine, but the public delta, see, the public delta should only be sent if there's an actual change. How can we do that? See, because we already changed the player ID there. This is where I thought maybe having some kind of observable could help us, because we're basically reinventing Immer patches at this point. So I'm wondering if these observers could somehow watch for patches. And maybe by watching for patches, they could scan for certain paths that they wanted to watch, like how Alpine does it. How does Alpine do it? Probably in Magic. Yeah, watch. See how watch actually works. Oh, it's got something called reactivity. Let's go find what's going on in reactivity. But Immer has something, right? Let's see if Mutative has this too, some kind of ability to watch. Yeah, what's all the way down here? Oh, that's just watching. Okay, next state, create, patches. Immer has, maybe Mutative has events. Nope, doesn't seem like it. App set, API overview, current original patches. I know I've seen it in here. Using produce. Now here's an interesting library called onChange. So you have an object. Yeah, I mean, that one's okay. It doesn't really filter by path. And the other problem we have with some sort of observer pattern is that we don't necessarily know which index we're supposed to be watching. Well, I guess we do. I guess we do know the paths that we're supposed to be watching. We're trying to determine whether a delta gets created at all, so that we're not leaking data to the client. And I could hand code this. I could do it easily. Hey Siri, turn on clean mode. There it is. Hello, this is Ben. I think I've been muted this whole time. Let's find out. I think I've been muted this whole time. Yeah, this was kind of a bust of a stream. Throwing this one out, guys. I'm not even going to post this as an episode.